My desk is here. It is set up, and my wife's got her desk. We got a black desk over here, and we got a pink desk over here for our office/gaming center, and it is going to be awesome. There's still more work to be done, but now we have the camera up and rolling. If you were ever wondering what I look like, this is it. This is all you get. Darn it. I know, kind of a letdown. But we're going to get into some technical analysis for the SPY cues, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, Nvidia, AMD, and Meta going forward. And we are going to be looking at AMC and GME as well. We're seeing a lot of funky behavior for the SPY, so we got to get you those daily expected moves and look at XLU first thing. So let's get into it. First of all, for us to understand the SPY really did want to go down to that we had big daily expected moves today. Right, we had big daily expected moves. And I think the market makers did want to push us down to that daily expected move. The problem was higher up here, we actually noticed that a lot of the retail, the PCC was actually higher, which means puts were too expensive. Now, the reason I'm saying I think we wanted to head down here was because of XLU. XLU actually made this move down to the weekly expected move, which would tell me the SPY most likely wanted to head down there. It wants to follow XLU. The problem is it didn't because I think the PCC was too big. Right? It was too big, which means calls were cheaper, so they're going to squeeze it higher. Now, as of this bar right here, what did we notice? We were talking about this live. Yes, the 2 hour, someone was saying the 2 hour could cross over and make some kind of divergence for a sturdy base. Great job. That means you're learning, and I love it. I love to see those type of comments. That is exactly the type of thing you need to watch. But I quickly mentioned, hey, but what if it just rejects? So what you want to pay attention to is, does that actually cross over, or is the 30-minute able to cross back up? And that's exactly what happened here. A 15-minute tested these levels. This is why we pay attention to weekly expected moves. This is where it gets to. Now we're curling back up, but you notice if we curl back down, maybe we create a little divergence down here, right? So if we curl down, still positive, it's still a positive move in positive territory, but you notice if we do curl down, maybe we just make some kind of divergence down here for XLU, and that will be a pretty sturdy bottom. Maybe the SPY gets some kind of pullback. So let's look at the SPY for a second. And on a 15-minute, it was on this downturn right here that we really were saying like, hey, the put ratio is pretty good here. I think retail's actually being pretty smart, and they didn't. I think they wanted to drop the market down and scare people out and then give another rug pull. That didn't happen. I think retail was very intelligent today. They were buying puts at the right time because XLU is making that move is very, very good. And so what do? Well, they rig it the other way right when they can, right? They just kind of dud it for the whole morning, and then towards the afternoon, boom, they start to push that thing up because calls were cheaper. These are the things that we are paying attention to. As of right now, you might say, hey, there's 15-minute divergence, there's 30-minute divergence, but I just wanted to show you guys how we were talking about this big run-up, and over the weekend, we just mentioned, well, we can go a little bit higher, go into a point of liquidity, and maybe set up a little weird head and shoulders, okay? Head and shoulders to head up. So as of right now, you'd say, hey, if we're going to complete a cup, we kind of want to complete it with this liquidity in here. So what did we do? Well, we complete the cup. Now we have a big handle. Maybe we want to head higher. So the thing you want to pay attention to, 30-minute, if we're going to see a pullback down to the daily expected moves, the upside being 531.91 to the upside and 524.87 to the downside. You have to pay attention to both sides. We get data 30 minutes after the open. So if this 30-minute is going to curl up, curl down, look for that weakness to come in and then hold up at that daily expected move. That would be very, very telling that this is some kind of trap. We'll pay attention to all of these things live. The very important thing about the SPY right now, the 2 hour was able to creep positive. That is a great thing. That is a great thing for stocks. That means that positive trend, positive territory, positive move. So we have to pay attention to upside. If we get some kind of rapid move up, what if that is given up by the end of the day? This is something we are going to pay attention to on the SPY, and maybe even for Nvidia. Just looking at a daily, because that went positive, now we have the opportunity to maybe curl up this daily and create that crash signal. Okay, the weekly expected move is up here. We have a few days left in the week, so if we're going to see that turn up, look for us to get outside of that maybe soon over the next 2 days and then see that slightly given up by the end of the week. We will be paying attention to all of this live tomorrow morning. Please come join us and subscribe. Now, the Qs do not have to make that crash signal at the same time as XLU. That is very important to understand. But as we look at a 2 hour, it is trying to go positive. It's not positive yet. It's not positive yet, but once that happens, we could see some kind of run up that gives you a point of divergence way down here. And the next stock we're going to cover is Apple. And I think it's a good look of like what the Qs could look like going into tomorrow or Thursday. So we're going to be paying attention to it. Like always, we trade like water. We just let the charts tell us what to do, and then we push the buttons. Okay, we push the buttons. Now, the upside range for tomorrow, notice that it is by that weekly expected move. So if you come outside of that, above that 458.33 to the upside and above the weekly expected move upside, you actually have a 68% chance to land back down here by the close tomorrow. And you have a 68% chance to land below that weekly expected move by Friday close. So any rapid move up here can be met with selling. Okay, sellers are up here as of right now, unless we just see that thing go ballistic with something crazy. I'm going to be paying attention to a 30-minute chart early on in the day because we get some data. So if there is weakness early on in the day, maybe we go down and touch this and then we just turn right back up. We're going to be paying attention to that live tomorrow for the Qs because we are very close to going negative here. And if we actually go negative, that can really escalate outside of those daily expected moves. Then maybe we see something like this form. So we're paying attention to a lot. I just want to put those ideas in your head, get those scenarios moving in your head, get that imagination going so that when you see one of these scenarios, you can react accordingly. Now, Apple is forming that divergence right now, and this is what I think the Qs will kind of look like. Look how it kind of looks like this, but the Qs are just a little bit deeper, and then it curls back up. Okay, so the Qs could curl up and go positive and then roll right back down. That would create some kind of divergence on the Qs outside of the weekly range. And that's the key thing with Apple right now. It's trying to test that weekly range. I don't think it's fully outside of it just yet. So this signal looks pretty good, right? You would say this signal looks pretty good. You have a 30-minute divergence up here. You're still a little bit far away from the center line. So if you do get weakness from this divergence, you can see it on the MACD. You can see it on the RSI at the same time. I get it. It's just not outside of that weekly expected move, at least from what I believe. I need to pull that up maybe, but the thing I'm thinking here is if we do see weakness early on in the day, we'll look for that to turn back up. Maybe we create some kind of triple divergence that makes it more clear and gets you outside of that weekly expected move. Triple divergence looks like a decent scenario to pay attention to for Apple. As of right now, you have the single divergence, but you're far away from the center line. You're kind of contrarian bearish here until that actually goes negative for Apple. Tesla, this is one of the wonkiest stocks to really try to trade right now. It's really just ripping back and forth, a lot of wicks on a 30-minute. It is a tough one to trade. And right now, an important thing that happened on the 30-minute was it curled up. It curled up here, and it wasn't able to confirm that back down by the end of the day. Now you're seeing the post-market get a little bounce. So this is saying that you do not have confirmed downside on the 30-minute. That was contrarian bullish. It still is as of right now. Now, as we go into a 2-hour, you're just going to notice that this thing is pointing negative. So you have to talk negatively about the 2-hour. But if that 30-minute does see that bounce, the 2-hour curls up, you can see some positivity here. I would just be careful because we keep seeing these big wicks, right? We keep seeing these drops whenever we try to get above, I would say a price point of about 179. Whenever we get above 179, we keep seeing those wicks. So you have to manage your risk. That is what we teach you how to do in the course. And we teach you a lot of other things about the MACD, RSI, and all that good stuff. But mainly the managing of risk can really help you out as a trader. And so I highly encourage you guys, if you're trying to learn this stuff, you go grab that. It's only $100 for a little bit more time. Amazon was a wonky one as well, right? We saw the good signals down here and then those did not play out. Thank goodness we had risk management that told us to get out up here at 182 because we went all the way down to 174. You do not want to be caught in a move like that, especially with an option. But what are we noticing now? The 2-hour is contrarian bullish. Now that has to go positive. So it has to go positive in order for that to be bullish. And the 30-minute here is actually trickling up. You know, we said around this area, hey, watch out if that starts to roll over, but this can just continue and go positive. That's a good sign for Amazon to maybe come and create some kind of higher low. But you notice that it's right next to negative territory. So if that rolls negative and that's a good move, you could just come down here and create a stronger base, right? Some kind of double bottom, some kind of divergence down here would be good. As of right now, this does not look like a good trade setup. As far as my opinion goes, I would not take a trade setup based on this. I would need to see more structure out of Amazon. Now, if that 2 hour is just going to continue, you could roll up this daily and maybe we do get some kind of lower high. I think a lower high is very possible. If we see some kind of run up, I think a lower high is very possible. We just pop up for a brief moment, curl right back down. Now it's time for Nvidia, and that thing is just going above, and it's using that point that we marked off. 1,140 has been very, very important for Nvidia. The overall signal that I think will form is this 2 hour crossing up. I still believe that this 2 hour will cross up. You see how it's just kind of just leaking forward, going up, making a new high. I think they continue that, but does that just happen tomorrow and then that's given away? So I told you I would take a trade if it's set up. It hasn't set up yet. It has not set up yet. Even on the 30-minute, I was kind of like, hey, I might even take a play with this because it's close to negative territory, but notice that did not curl over by the end of the day. So am I going to front run this because I think it should do it? No, let the charts tell you what is happening. If it curls over, gives you a red impression, that is when you can be a contrarian bear. And then if that goes negative, that's where you can start to manage that trade really closely, make sure it continues to go negative and make some money. That's great. It is great, but as of right now, I still think we have the potential to do something like, a little curl down like this, and then we pop up, and then we see some kind of little 30-minute divergence outside of that weekly expected move, because you're pretty much testing the weekly expected move as of right now for Nvidia. I'm still waiting. I'm being very, very patient, and if the trade happens overnight and this thing just drops, I'm not going to get bummed out and try to take a play. There are plenty of other stocks out there. I am not one that really tries to I have to trade this. No, if the setup does not happen, the setup that I'm thinking of does not happen in front of me, I do not take the trade. I am very, very patient, especially in a market like this one, and especially with a rigged stock like this one right here. And it happens to be called Nvidia. AMD, I was slightly thinking about posting this to Patreon. I really like this look, but we are towards that weekly expected move. I'm pretty sure we are. Let me go click over here to make sure, but looking over at AMD, yeah, we actually have some more room to the downside, so I think that's why I didn't post the overall trade. It just looks like, hey, you have a 30-minute divergence down there that tried to confirm, okay, risk management, now you're out, but then you're right back in if this starts to curl up, because you got some good divergence here. Look at the downward move. Look at the move here on the MACD going up a little bit. That's important. And then on the RSI, you have the same upward move. So if this can complete, if we see a strong bar above 160.83, that would be a good sign for AMD. That actually would be a good sign for the 2-hour to curl up. And if the 2-hour curls up and we see some kind of crazy move, even up to here, well, this actually would be considered multiple point divergence, okay? One here, one, well, not necessarily there, but one there and one across the way. So you would have multiple point divergence. If it's going to be a big move, then you might just see triple divergence. So this is what I'm talking about when I say, hey, all you have to do is really see like, hey, if this pops up like this or pops up like this and curls back down, that's when the negative trend most likely is there. You might be right in saying that AMD needs to go down right here. Your timing might just be a little bit off, and over here is the better place to try to take a play on AMD. As far as negativity for AMD, I just wanted to point this out because this is what Meta, this is what AMD, this is what Tesla look like. They all look like they want to curl over on daily charts, but they haven't yet. And that is a very key thing going into tomorrow. So if we do see more weakness from AMD tomorrow and that holds by the end of the day, we might very well just be seeing AMD escalate things and see a dramatic drop getting outside of its weekly expected move. So we're paying attention to this. I think you have a very good probability for a bounce from AMD going into tomorrow, but I am paying very close attention because I will not be fighting against daily momentum this close to a negative trend. Meta, let's see if it did it. Is it trying? Oh God, it's almost positive. I still think Meta might flash positive for a second, but this is one on the daily scale you have to be a little worried about as well. It's still in a negative trend, and technically if you're bullish on it, you are a contrarian bull on the daily chart because it is still below the center line. It did not confirm bullishness just yet. Okay, this is a contrarian signal. So what do we need for this to actually be bullish? We need the 2-hour to go positive. That is a bullish signal. There it is. There is a bullish signal down here. You're in a bullish trend on a 2-hour chart. Now the daily is a totally different thing. But what do we notice here? Well, we're starting to create another point of divergence between all of these points. Now I think you have a good shot to go a little bit higher, but if that is brief, we can watch a 30-minute chart. This 30-minute chart was able to pull down just a little bit here. And if we see some kind of pop in the morning, well, what if that data just rips it away? So if we see some kind of pop, maybe it goes to a weekly expected move or outside of it, and then we see that divergence by the end of the morning. We're going to be paying attention closely to Meta because out of all of the wonky stocks, this again is another wonky stock. It's in a range pretty much. But out of all of the wonky stocks, I think Meta is actually maybe a little bit more clear than something like Tesla. And all right, now it is time to talk about AMC and GME. Okay, so first we're going to talk about AMC, and I just wanted to break this down from daily all the way down to the 30-minute. What are we noticing on the daily? It is still telling us, hey, I'm in a pullback. If I'm negative on this, well, then you're a contrarian bear. It is still bullish. it is still in a bullish trend. It is still in a positive trend. It's just experiencing that pullback. So if this curls up at any time, that very well could be a big moment for AMC. Positive territory, crosses up on the MACD. Ooh, positive move for the price action. So we'll see what's going to happen with this going forward. As we go into a 2-hour, what do we notice? This was able to creep up into positive territory, and that is a very key thing. So this right now, if you are negative on AMC on the 2-hour, you are technically a contrarian. You are very much so a contrarian. This has not even crossed over. Now it's close, and I think we have a good opportunity to cross down to 437. But as of right now on the 2-hour, you would have to say that is a green bars in positive territory. That is a bullish trend as of right now. And the daily is with you a little bit on that, saying you're just in some kind of pullback. The 30-minute here is really what you have to pay attention to. And AMC is holding up better than GME right now on the 30-minute. That is very key. The 30-minute here is getting close to the center line. I still think we do have the opportunity to come get a quick test of 437 and then see that thing rip. But anytime that this curls up, I know that is momentum. That is the indicators telling me with a green bar and a crossing right here that there is a positive move, very probable for AMC. And that's really what we're waiting for going into tomorrow. It's doing exactly what we like to see. Big move up, beat down to the center line, beat down to the center line, curl back up, positive territory, swing trading 101. We're going to move backwards for GME, and on the daily scale, once again, it is in a positive trend. It is still in a positive trend. If you are negative on GME, you're actually a contrarian bear. Okay, this is still in positive territory. Once it is dead, it will cross this center line. We will cross this center line. That's when you know GME is dead for the time being, and you got to wait for that to curl back up. But right now it's in positive territory. If that curls up at any time, and it looks like it's really trying to, something big could happen, and we got earnings right around the corner. So as we go into a 2-hour, is this thing bullish? Yes, it is. It is positive. It is positive. There are green bars in over the center line, so that is a positive trend. That is another good thing for GME. Now that could just roll over right now. It's still pretty close to the center line. So if we are going to see a negative move, okay, then this will cross down, and then I'll have to be patient and wait for that to cross back up. That would be momentum telling me, hey, there's another move possible. Now, this is key as well. So this is how AMC, GME, AMC is just a little bit higher up here, but GME is still positive on the 30-minute. This is still pullback until we roll negative. Now, we could roll negative right away tomorrow, go down, fill this gap, and then maybe we have to wait for that thing to curl back up. So once we go negative, we really have to be patient and wait for that to say, hey, I'm going back into a positive trend. As of right now, it is a positive trend on every single time frame that we are viewing here, and in most of the time frames, it is just saying, hey, we're in some kind of pullback. So if you're negative on this, even on a 30-minute, technically right now you are a contrarian bear because this trend is still bullish. And if this just crosses up, you might see a big move. Now, something that I was reading into towards the end of the day, and I'm going to try to do at least 2 more closing streams, maybe on Thursday and Friday, or if things get crazy tomorrow. But one key thing here was the rejection of the crossing of the 2-hour. If this didn't reject, we could have seen a big sell-off. So that actually rejected on the 2-hour. Now we head down a little bit lower. So what am I really looking for on volatility for the VIX here? I just got to wait and see if this 30-minute can curl back up. Now just know this can take a lot of time. We could see the volatility drop off, get some kind of pop, then drop off again, and then by 12:12 we see this, and we get some kind of divergence at this level. That would be very telling that that 2-hour is going to cross up. But really pay attention to that 2-hour. Once that thing crosses up, it might mean it is go time for volatility, and I would be very cautious. Now, as we look at the daily scale here, the reason that we could see even more downside is if this crosses over, then we could get some kind of divergence down here, okay? We could see a squeeze for a few days, right? A few days, and then what? Maybe GameStop earnings comes out, and we see some kind of double bottom, some kind of divergence down here. And the funny thing about this divergence would be if XLU creates the opposite signal on the daily chart and the SPY creates the opposite signal at the same time that volatility creates this one. This is when people ask me, how do you read into volatility? This is exactly how you read into it. On technical analysis, sometimes it can be wonky, but if you're seeing the same signal at the same time on the SPY, that's usually when you can start to really read into it. And I think we're going to see the same signal on volatility just in the opposite direction. And we might see that thing go through the roof. The key thing here TLT broke out. That's a pretty big moment. TLT broke out, and so that could mean that yields could drop significantly, but we do get data right in the morning. We do have divergence still here on a 2-hour, so we could see those yields start to pop up, which might mean we want to see a little bit of volatility increase. So just be careful going around these data drops. What are we noticing from the 10-year, the opposite side of this? Well, it's just fallen, it's fallen, it's fallen. We want to see, is it making some kind of daily divergence? It could be right now, and we get data in the morning, so we have to really pay attention to this. If you need someone to bounce some ideas off of, see who can read into the signals, I will be live tomorrow morning, and I hope to see you there. Then lastly, the dollar. Okay, the dollar is down in our zone here. That has been a pretty good buy zone, and I wanted to pull up a 4-hour. I do like 4-hour charts for the dollar, and we see a divergence across the way. Now, this is a spread out divergence. You don't necessarily want to read directly into that, but the main thing you need to notice here is while the SPY was dropping for that period of time, the dollar has significantly come down. Now, you're thinking, oh, this is due to the bounce. Well, this happened before the bounce, right? This was happening before the bounce. Then we start to pull back, and we noticed that the dollar was really dropping off as the SPY was just kind of hovering, and then we saw the pullback. So this happened before that little pullback today. It kind of happened before that little pullback, which just tells me someone on the inside was buying in this area. I'd just be careful if this 4-hour turns back up, though, because we might see a little difference where the dollar goes up and the SPY goes up at the same time, and then we might get those crash signals to form. So the main takeaway for this video is we still need to trade like water. There is a lot of data coming out this week. We have a lot of price action movement, and GME and AMC are still in positive trends on the daily scale. And that is something that can really crash the market. And why could it crash the market? Because it would really cause some stress with the banks. It would cause the stress with the short sellers, and it would cause a lot of stress with the market makers as well. The market makers do own the contracts. They sold the contracts, so they could be in a lot of trouble. They could be on the hook, and I think that's why they're trying to put Roaring Kitty in jail when really he did nothing wrong. Everyone shows their trades all the time. That's perfectly fine to tell someone what you're trading. The only thing that they did that was more wrong than him was do something illegal, which is, selling naked shorts. Thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed, joined the Patreon, taken the course. I really appreciate all the good emails that I'm getting. Just a quick thing, I'm running into this weird thing with Teachable ever since I called that bottom move, that rigged move on Friday. They have kind of froze my account, and they are not sending me my money that they owe me, and they actually are not communicating with me at all. So I hope nothing fishy is happening there. I don't think it is, but the conspiracy theorist in me is just like, hey, please hit the like button because your boy might be getting attacked by someone because of what he's saying about these rigged markets. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you guys live tomorrow morning, and I hope you have a good night. Peace.